Dak Prescott, he had a somewhat MVP type season last year. He's currently in a contract standoff with the Cowboys, as is every star player on the Cowboys right now. Tom, he's going as QB9 in drafts. You are significantly higher than consensus on Dak Prescott. What is it about Dak and this Cowboys offense that makes it feel like a screaming value to you?
So when we talk about the non-running quarterbacks, normally we talk about how difficult it is for them to compete with the dual threats. But from Dak Prescott, we've kind of seen him be able to compete with them throughout his career. Yes, the first 8 weeks last season were pretty ugly, but then the bye week happened for the Cowboys. And from week 9 to 17, he was the quarterback 2 in fantasy with 22.9 points per game, 0.1 points behind Josh Allen. And in that spell, Josh Allen had 10 rushing touchdowns and was averaging 35 rushing yards per game. Dak didn't need that. Dak didn't have anyone outside of pretty much the guys he's got now and Michael Gallup, who's now retiring. So I don't feel like he's really missing a piece of a puzzle that made him incredible. You know, Prescott had 6 games over 24.7 points last year. They're all top 3 weekly finishes. And across the course of his career, he's been a top 5 quarterback in 28% of his career games. The only quarterbacks over the last few years with more top 5 quarterback games, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Like, Dak's proven it time and time again that he can get it done. CeeDee Lamb has ascended to be a complete superstar. I think Jake Ferguson is good enough. I think Brandon Cooks is still just about good enough. And I think that this Cowboys offense can absolutely keep humming.
Yeah, and so Heath, we talked earlier about CJ Stroud and how potentially the lack of rushing could potentially impact him. Dak, after that horrific leg injury earlier in his career, has basically stopped rushing. However, this last year, 62 rush attempts may not sound a lot, but we're getting north of that 3 rush attempts per game. Potentially, now we're healthy, could see a further increase. Do you think that's an underrated part of the game that could present him as a value?
I think he's closer rushing this year to Burrow than he is to Stroud. And I would like, he's a guy, I think I have him 8th, so just barely above his ADP. And he's definitely in that group of quarterbacks that I'd like to rank higher. I don't actually see as much upside for him as I do for Anthony Richardson. In a 2 quarterback or super flex format, I'm probably just taking Dak because it is certainly safer. But then again, like, does any quarterback we're drafting in the top 10 is more dependent on the availability of one player? This offense, like Jake Ferguson's good enough to be the Dallas tight end that we're going to throw it 100 times to, that they've done for the last decade. But you haven't had to be particularly good to be that guy. That's just what they do. If anything happens to CeeDee Lamb, he's absolutely sunk. I wish they had a little bit of depth in the receiving core, because I do think outside of Lamb, it's miserable.
Do you think that if CeeDee Lamb signs a contract extension tomorrow, gets into camp, would that see you potentially bump Dak slightly, or is it just that potential risk of an injury to CeeDee Lamb that
I might bump him if they both signed a contract and were like happy? But I don't know how willing at this point I'd be to play through an injury if I was Dak Prescott in week 7 of this season and I was a free agent next year.
Yeah, I guess the hope that I keep telling myself is that last time Dak was in this situation, he had that leg ankle break that was horrendous and still got the massive contract. So yeah. I think that massive contract is there no matter what injury he picks up, basically. And that's what I'm kind of keep telling myself as to maybe the long-term hope of Dak.
But I guess the question would be, does Dak believe if he suffers another major injury that contract is there?
100%. I guess the bigger question is that if it's a small injury that he doesn't want to play through. You know, we saw Dak and Baker Mayfield are worlds apart as quarterbacks, but obviously we saw Baker Mayfield play through injury, performance dips, didn't get that contract. Could that be kind of lingering over Dak Prescott potentially?
Yeah, and I mean, we've only got to look as far as Kirk Cousins to see that teams will be desperate enough to pay even older quarterbacks coming off an injury. So I think, yeah, your point about will he play through it? I mean, we never really heard the full story, but the Lamar Jackson's injuries towards the end of the seasons in back-to-back years, it definitely felt like if he'd really wanted to, he could have possibly pushed himself a little bit more at times. But why should he? Because he hadn't been paid yet. So I think that's a very strong point.
Yeah, but it is August. It is giveaway month here in the Sanctuary. That is right. If you subscribe, leave a comment on any of our videos, you get one entry to our giveaway. That is an entry for every single comment you give away. We're giving away $100 in cold hard cash, 12 months free membership at the premium tier, and of course, that extra little sweetener of a little bit of merch from our merch store as well.